الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله وكفى والصلاة والسلام على السيد الحبيب المصطفى وعلى آله وأصحابه نجوم الهدى قادة التقى اللهم صل وسلم وبارك على سيدنا محمد وعلى آل سيدنا محمد عبدك ورسولك النبي الأمي نبي الرحمة كما تحب وترضى عدد ما تحب وترضى كلما ذكره الذاكرون وكلما غفل عن ذكره الغافلون اللهم اغفر لنا وارحمنا ومشايخنا ووفقنا لما تحب وترضى من القول والعمل وجنبنا الفواحش والمعاصي والخطايا والزلل اللهم آثرنا ولا تؤثر علينا اللهم أعطنا ولا تحرمنا اللهم أكرمنا ولا تهنا اللهم أرضنا عنك وارض عنا اللهم أصلح لنا شأننا كله لا إله إلا أنت أما بعد أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم والمطلقات يتربصن بأنفسهن ثلاثة قروء. We are reading verse number 229 of Surah Baqarah. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, 228. And the divorced women shall keep themselves in waiting for 3 courses. ولا يحل لهن أن يكتمن ما خلق الله في أرحامهن إن كن يؤمن بالله واليوم الآخر. It is not allowed to them that they should conceal what Allah has created in their wombs if they believe in Allah and the last day. وَلَهُنَّ مِثْلُ الَّذِي عَلَيْهِنَّ بِالْمَعْرُوفِ. कई आयत मिस्टेक नहीं तो पढ़ ही रहे थे एम 9 मिस्टेक وبعولتهن أحق بردهن في ذلك إن أرادوا إصلاحا. चलिए. And their husbands are most deserving to take them back within this period if they desire reconciliation. وَلَهُنَّ مِثْلُ الَّذِي عَلَيْهِنَّ بِالْمَعْرُوفِ. And to the women is due similar to that which is due upon them in a reasonable manner. وَلِلرِّجَالِ عَلَيْهِنَّ دَرَجَةٌ. And men have a degree above them. وَاللَّهُ عَزِيزٌ حَكِيمٌ. And Allah is mighty wise. तलाक का मसला है ना, इसलिए दिमाग कंफ्यूज हो जाता है. Verse number 228 of Surah Baqarah. What did we read in the last verses? The mas'ala of ila. And ila means temporary separation. Sometimes temporary separation becomes permanent, meaning it ends up in divorce. So after mentioning ila, Allah is now mentioning talaq. In the previous ayat, Allah said, وَإِنْ عَزَمُوا الطَّلَاقَ فَإِنَّ اللَّهَ سَمِيعٌ عَلِيمٌ. If after making ila, they resolve to divorce, then Allah hears whatever they say and knows whatever is in their hearts. So if you have firm intention of divorcing, then make sure you choose the right words carefully. Don't say anything silly for which you regret later on. So what is that? Now Allah is mentioning some adab of talaq. From here, few verses are connected to talaq. Over here in Ma'ariful Quran, Anwarul Bayan, Tafseer mention, MashaAllah, kursi par बैठ जाइए हजरत, ऊपर बैठो ना, kursi पर आराम रहेगा. So they mention First of all, the institution of nikah and marriage. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has ordained the institution of nikah because men and women are naturally dependent on each other, deriving solace, tasalli, sukoon from one another. They live intimately with each other, making life together. They bring comfort, sukoon to one another. However, sometimes unpleasant incidents occur. Now, most of the time, they overlook those incidents and continue to live their lives together. However, occasionally the condition becomes so heavy that it's irreconcilable. There is no point of dragging on together. They simply cannot live together. They cannot tolerate one another. They are at a point of no return. In these circumstances, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given them the option of talaq and khula. Now, this is what Islam is teaching. We look at other religions, how they behave with regards to matters of divorce. There is ifrat and tafrit. Tafsir Majidi states that among Yahud, they would divorce on many minor incidents. And divorce was like something, a game and a play to them. Mamuli, choti choti baat pe divorce. And among the Christians, there was the other extreme. Catholics say at the time of marriage, till death do us apart. That we will never be separated until death. No matter what happens, we have to stick together. So they just have to tolerate. There's no point of divorce. And their book says, Bible, words like, if he divorces her or separates from her and goes to another woman, then he is worse than so and such and such. And it's simply not allowed. It's not thinkable. They should never divorce. So there are two extremes. Islam, however, has always been ummatan wasatan, medium, middle, takes the middle ground. It says that you should try and live together to the best of your ability. However, in circumstances where it's not possible, then you can separate as well. She can get married to someone else, you can get married to someone else. So this is why Islam allows divorce. Let me read this passage from Tafsir Majidi because it will make it more clearer with references. Hazrat Maulana Abdul Majid Daryabadi Rahmatullah Alayhi writes, the course of divorce or the dissolution of the marriage tie among ancient nations has been erratic. Some making it too loose, others making it too tight. Speaking sociologically, every religion has to meet two ends in the sphere of marriage and family: to raise the standard of morality and to sanctify the marriage contract. But in practice, some religions have become too lenient, others too rigid. The Jewish law allows it as a matter of no great concern. It says, if husband finds some uncleanliness in her, then let him write a bill of divorcement and give it in her and send her out of his house. And when she is departed out of his home, she may go and be another man's wife. DT chapter 24, verse 1 and 2. This is in their Torah. Christianity, on the other hand, taking its stand on the reported saying of Jesus, what therefore God hath joined together, let not man pass asunder. Whoever shall put away his wife and marry another committeth adultery against her. Mark chapter 10, verse 9 and 11. And also upon the dictum of Paul, it says, let not the wife depart from her husband. CO chapter 10, verse 7, verse 10, has interdicted divorce altogether. The Catholics hold when the sacrament of matrimony has been received by a man and woman and ratified by their cohabitation as husband and wife, the union cannot be dissolved except by death. CD page 477. The climax was reached in the rules of the Roman Catholic Church. It treats marriage as sacrament and demands dissolubility and unchanging fidelity. This in itself is unreasonable. Judaism takes account of the mutability of human feelings and free people when the chains of matrimony become fetters, but the Catholic Church refuses to recognize any such change of feelings. The bonds of matrimony become a chain as heavy and galling as iron in which two people must languish for the term of their natural lives. Bore, Women and Love, chapter 2, page 291. The Protestant allow it no doubt, but only on such grounds as are of comparatively rare occurrence. Fornication, for instance. Islam has steered its course midway between the two, avoiding the extremes of either making divorce too rigid or banning it altogether, or of making it too loose and frivolous. Islam has adopted the only wise course open, that of imposing certain conditions and limitations upon the right of the husband to dissolve the matrimonial bond, the object of which is to ensure that the husband was not acting in haste or anger, and that separation becomes inevitable in the interest of the husband and the wife and the children. Abdul Rahim, OPCIT, page 336. This is beautiful, clear from Hazrat Maulana Abdul Majid Dariyabadi Sahib with regards to talaq. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, if the matter has led to divorce, first of all, it should not lead to divorce. Why? Because the hadith said, أَبْغَضُ الْحَلَالِ إِلَى اللَّهِ الطَّلَاقِ. Of the things which Allah has made halal, the most disliked to Allah is divorce. Allah has made it permissible because it's needed, but Allah doesn't like it. Why Allah doesn't like it? Because shaitan loves it. Shaitan loves divorce. The person who makes divorce between husband and wife, that shaitan comes and gives his report, shaitan jumps up and hugs him. Because once that divorce has taken place, there's never-ending fights between the two families. Accusations, slandering, ghibat, backbiting, fighting, and sometimes, fights, and sometimes shooting, murder, killing. All these things takes place after divorce. So shaitan loves divorce. So he tries his best to make them argue, and whispers, instigates them, and end up in divorce. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala does not like divorce. He says, try and reconcile, make up, stay together, and don't get to that stage where you end up divorcing one another. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said in Surah An-Nisa, which we will read later on inshallah, that فَإِذُوهُنَّ, that's the first stage. If the wife is behaving badly, she's not listening, she's not cooperating, and she's on another way, then you have to sit down with her. Hey Begum, come sit down. Kya problem hai? Kyun ye sab garbad kyun kar rahi hai? Why are you doing all this? If you need something, is there something wrong? Sit down. और उसके साथ try and make up. अगर नसीहत और admonition से काम नहीं चला, तो वहजुरूहुन्ना फिल मदाजी, बिस्तर अलग कर दो, कुछ दिन के लिए उसको कहो कि मेरे साथ मत सो, तुम जाओ दूसरे कमरे में। और इस मुल्क में तो ऐसा नहीं कर सकते, तो खुद दूसरे कमरे में चले जाओ। तो शरीयत says that she should realize that my husband never does this to me. Why did he do this today? And she will say, oh sorry, my mistake. Because this is next stage. He's never done that. First time he's done that. तो उसको रियलाइज हो जाएगा। और तीसरा स्टेज जो है वो हम यहां बयान नहीं कर सकते, और कोई गलत मीनिंग ले लेगा। वो जहां वो आएगा उस वक्त तफसीर उसकी कर देंगे। वज़रिबूहुन्ना, रिप्रिमांड देम। अता इब्न नबी रबा से उसको मिसवाक से एक चपट रसीद कर दो, बस। बीटिंग अप, ये तर्जमा गलत किया है। सब कुरान तर्जमा मैंने देखा, सबने बीट अप कर रहा है तर्जमा। और बीटिंग का मफहूम इस जमाने में ये है बराबर दबा के लगाओ उनको, खून निकालो उनका, ब्रूज कर दो उनको, ये बीटिंग है। ये तो हराम है। ये तो किसी दुश्मन को भी इस तरह नहीं मार सकते कि मुंह पर मारना, थप्पड़ मारना। और लड़ाई मैदान, इन द बैटल फील्ड यू कांट हिट योर एनिमी ऑन द फेस, तो let alone your wife, that's not allowed. It's just to reprimand. He never lifts his hand. Why did he lift his hand on me today? तो ये तीसरा स्टेज। लेकिन इस मुल्क में don't go to that stage because it will create more problems. Now when these three stages don't work, then fourth stage Allah said فَبَعْثُوا حَكَمًا مِّنْ أَهْلِهِ وَحَكَمًا مِّنْ أَهْلِهَا. One person from his side, another person from her side. They both listen to their concerns, and then they both sit down and they talk among themselves and try to come to some mutual agreement where they can remove their differences, stay together, and then after talking among themselves, having that meeting, they call both partners and then they say to them, look, this was your side, this was her story, and this is where the differences is. You had better stick together because there's no ground for divorce, talaq. For talaq, you need a strong, reason. There's no strong reason here. There's only small differences, minor, disagreements. You can remove those disagreements. He's not beaten you up. He's not made you bleed. He's giving you his expenses. He's not, done anything bad. He's not fornicating. He's not a druggie. He's not sharabi. Right? He's not going to sleep with other women. He's not doing anything harm like that. He a little bit. He might be a bit hot-headed. He might get angry a little bit, but you have to tolerate that. And he has to be told as well that you don't like things about her. That maybe she doesn't cook so much good food. Well, you have to do with it. Not everybody cooks good food. You might have to do a little bit of housework. So koi haraj nahi, do the housework. You might have to wash your own clothes, iron your own clothes. No problem, do it. You might have to do a little bit of work for the kids. Karo, they're your kids as well. Help her. So you can remove the differences and stick together because Allah said, فَبَعَثُوا حَكَمًا مِّنْ أَهْلِهِ وَحَكَمًا مِّنْ أَهْلِهَا إِنْ يُرِيدَا إِصْلَاحًا يُوَفِّقِ اللَّهُ بَيْنَهُمَا. If they both have intention of making the marriage work, then Allah will unite their hearts and make it easy for both parties. This is the fourth step. And if that also doesn't work, then comes the next stage of what we read last lesson, ila, temporary separation. And if that also doesn't work, then after 1 month, her mind is still fixed on that, and that temporary separation doesn't work either. 1 month, 1.5 months, 2 months, 3 months have passed, but she is still stubborn or he is still stubborn. Then Shariat said, okay, then finally, when azamut talaq, get to divorce. So there are stages to get to that divorce. And then talaq should be given, which one? Raj'i, not buying. One talaq should be given. After all these channels you've gone through them, you give one talaq raj'i again. What people do is just get angry and in a fit of anger, ja tujhe 1000 talaq. I give you 1000 divorce. और तुझे भी तलाक, तेरी माँ को भी तलाक, तेरे बाप को भी तलाक, तेरे दादा को भी, तेरे नाना को भी तलाक, सारे खानदान को तलाक. Right? Now, this is playing around with divorce, my friend. That's not the way to behave, right? So just give one divorce, right? One talaq raji, and then leave her. And then there are rules for that talaq raji as well. You cannot divorce in the state of haiz. You have to check that she's not on her period. If she's on her period, menstruation, and you divorce her, you've done something haram, and you'll get guna for that. Talaq will be counted, but you will get guna for divorcing her while she was on haiz. So make sure her haiz finishes. Because during haiz period, the woman is not in the right frame of mind. Her mental state is not strong. So you're going to hurt her more by divorcing her in that time. So Shariat said you're not allowed to divorce her whilst she is on her period. Abdullah ibn Umar divorced his wife while she was on period. Huzur Akram Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam was angry. Hazrat Umar told him that if Abdullah has done this, Huzur said, tell him, take her back and let one tuhur finish. And then let her do another haiz. And after that, another tuhur comes. Then he may divorce her if he wants to. So he had to do ruju and act upon that instruction. So you're not allowed to give talaq whilst she is on her periods. And then when she is pak, you should only give talaq in the paki, in the tuhur, in that period in which you have not had sexual intercourse with her. If you had sexual intercourse in that tuhur, then you should not give talaq in that tuhur. You have to wait until that tuhur finishes, her period comes, and that period passes, and she gets pak, and then you give her divorce. So you see how Islam has given guidelines. Islam is trying its best to make the marriage work. And divorce should be a final solution when nothing else is working. So this is the hidayat with regards to talaq. Now, over here, Allah is mentioning the mas'ala of iddat. وَالْمُطَلَّقَاتُ يَتَرَبَّصْنَ بِأَنفُسِهِنَّ ثَلَاثَةَ قُرُوء. The divorced women will stay in waiting for themselves for 3 courses. ثَلَاثَةَ قُرُوء, 3 courses. يَتَرَبَّصْنَ, tarabbus means to lie in wait. Intizar. Why? Shariat says, number 1, there is possibility of some hamal, baby in the womb, and that will be determined by haiz. So if haiz comes, then that's a sign there's no baby. And if it stops, then that means there is baby in the womb. So her iddat will be different. This is why yatarabbasna bi anfusihinna. They can't be separated from the husband straight away as the divorce takes place. Some jahils don't know the mas'ala. And as soon as the woman is divorced, she thinks, I'm okay now, and she's in love with someone, and she starts living with him. And she calls some Maulvi Sahab and does nikah. And Maulvi Sahab didn't know. And then Maulvi Sahab finds out after a few months that she was divorced and she's not done her iddat. Well, I didn't know. Well, we finished, we're living together now. Jao, ho gaya. Guna kiya tumne. So these cases have come up. So you have to be careful that there is no baby in the mother's womb, and she's free, and she has to wait for salasata quru, 3 courses. Quru is plural of qar'un, and qar'un, usul shashi will do bahas over here whether it means haiz or tuhr. Imam Abu Hanifa rahmatullah alayhi's madhab is very clear. It's 3 haiz, 3 periods. Because salas is a definition of 3. And we've just heard that you can't give talaq in haiz. You have to give talaq in tuhr. So when you give talaq in the tuhr paki, then you can only have 3 complete haiz, and then she will be free. Now, if Imam Shafi's mazhab is taken that quru means tuhr, salasatu quru means salasatu athar, now she was given talaq in the tuhr, and that will be counted, and then 1 haiz comes, and then second tuhr, and then another Hayz comes, and then another Tuhur, and then she will get free from her husband. Then that's not Salasat Tuhur. That's the Ithnain wa Nisf, 2.5, maybe 2 Tuhur on one day, because next day her period came. So Salasa will not be in his proper definition. This is why Imam Abu Hanifa's opinion is much stronger. In other places as well, Quru has been taken into the meaning of Hayz, and that's where Imam Sahib takes his call from. Anyway, 3 Hayz. Now, my friend Maulana Mahmud Chandiya Sahib, Hafizahullah, was once mentioning this article, that he read in this article that when a woman is divorced, she has the effects of the DNA and blood cells of her husband in her, and it takes time for those effects to wear off. And the scientists say that she should be left alone and separate for at least 3 periods, 3 months, and then all the effects of her previous husband will fade away. And then they said that when a woman is widowed, now she is going through that mental status where she is bereaved, then her hormones change very slowly. So perhaps this is why Islam said she has to wait period for 4 months and 10 days. So in talaq, the hormones change quickly. She needs to go over that changeover, and her mental state, her body state, all the effects of her previous husband to fade away. That's why Islam said you have to wait for 3 months, and then you can get married to someone else. When you get into the right state of mind, frame of mind, then you get married. And when you're a widow, you have to sit for longer, because those hormone effects, fade away slowly, not in 3 months. They require more time. This is why Allah said, Salasata Qur'an, 3 periods, 3 Hayz. Now, these 3 periods are for a woman who is going through the menstruation Hayz. For a woman who does not get the Hayz, like for example, a minor child who was married and then divorced and she's still not started her period, or a woman who went through menopause, she's 50, 60 years old and she was divorced, there's no Hayz, then she has to stay waiting for 3 months from the time she was divorced. Similarly, if the woman is pregnant, then her iddat is not 3 periods. Her iddat is waz'ul hamal, delivering the baby. So when she delivers the baby, that's when she will be classed as separate from her husband. And she will be allowed to marry if she wants to during nifas, but her second husband will not be allowed to sleep with her until the nifas period finishes. So after the nifas finishes, maybe 3-4 weeks or 40 days maximum, then she will be allowed to stay with the second person, whoever she wants to marry. So these are some of the guidelines with regards to this. For Hamila, Allah said in Surah Talaq, وَأُولَاتُ الْأَحْمَالِ يَجَلُهُنَّ يَضَعْنَ حَمْلَهُنَّ. For those who do not get Hayz, وَاللَّائِي يَئِسْنَ مِنَ الْمَحِيضِ مِن نِسَائِكُمْ إِنِ ارْتَبْتُمْ فَعِدَّتُهُنَّ 3 أشهر وَاللَّائِي لَمْ يَحِضْنَ is in Surah Talaq. Some of these Masaa'ils are mentioned here and others are mentioned in Surah Talaq. So both combined, we get all the Masaa'il together. This is يَتَرَبَّصْنَ بِأَنفُسِهِنَّ 3 قُرُوءٍ. Then Allah said, وَلَا يَحِلُّ لَهُنَّ أَن يَكْتُمْنَ مَا خَلَقَ اللَّهُ فِي أَرْحَامِهِنَّ إِن كُنَّ يُؤْمِنَّ بِاللَّهِ وَالْيَوْمِ الْآخِرِ. It is not allowed for them that they should conceal what Allah has created in their wombs if they believe in Allah and the last day. This means that the determination of the iddat is sole responsibility of the woman, because no other person can determine her status, whether she is expecting or not, whether her menstrual cycles are occurring or not, she is getting haze or not. For this reason, she has to be honest in the matter of iddat. A dishonest woman may claim, for example, that she is expecting a child and the delivery is after 9 months. So she will keep getting expenses from the husband for 9 months. Or she might make things up. Like, for example, she might say that I was getting haze, and after one haze, my haze finished. And it's not coming now, I'm on my menopause. Then what happens? Then she has to wait for another 9 months. And then after 9 months, she has to wait for another 3 months. So that means she'll get, expenses for the 12 months from her ex-husband. So sometimes women can cheat like that and act with dishonesty. This is what Allah is saying. Whatever is in your wombs, whether it's a baby, clarify it clearly. Whether you're getting haze, say it clearly. You're not getting haze, be honest in that manner. This is وَلَا يَحِلُّ لَهُنَّ أَن يَكْتُمْنَ مَا خَلَقَ اللَّهُ فِي أَرْحَامِهِنَّ إِن كُنَّ يُؤْمِنَّ بِاللَّهِ وَالْيَوْمِ الْآخِرِ. Many places Allah and His Rasul use this phrase. مَنْ كَانَ يُؤْمِنُ بِاللَّهِ وَالْيَوْمِ الْآخِرِ فَلْيُكْرِمْ ضَيْفَهُ من كان يؤمن بالله واليوم الآخر فليكرم جاره من كان يؤمن بالله واليوم الآخر فليقل خيرا أو ليصمت. Over here as well, إن كن يؤمن بالله واليوم الآخر. Why? Is to say that these instructions are given by none other than Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So if you believe in Allah, do what Allah says. And وَالْيَوْمِ الْآخِرِ, Allah will hold you to account for these things on al-yawm al-akhir. You will be standing before Allah. Allah will question you regarding your behavior. So if you believe in the last and final day and you're standing before Allah on the day of judgment, then be careful, do what Allah is telling you. This is why yu'minna billahi wal yawmil akhir are connected in many places throughout Quran and Hadith. Then Allah said, وَبُعُولَتُهُنَّ أَحَقُّ بِرَدِّهِنَّ فِي ذَلِكَ إِنْ أَرَادُوا إِصْلَاحًا. And their husbands are more entitled to taking them back during that period if they desire rectification and islah. Meaning, the person who pronounces clear divorce, talaq sarih, with the word divorce once, then that's called talaq raj'i. I divorce you. मैं तुझको एक तलाक देता हूं. तल्लक़तुकी अंति तालिक़ुन. This is clear word of talaq. This is called talaq raj'i, revocable divorce. He still has a chance of taking his wife back. Now, if he gave a talaq ba'in, he used words which were kinaya, and he gave irrevocable talaq, which is called disconnecting talaq, then that is finished. Then he cannot take her back during the period. He will have to do nikah again. This is when he uses words like get lost, go home, don't come back, I don't want to see your face again. In kitabs we use words like habluki ala gharibiki, ilhaqi bi ahliki. These are words of kinaya. Now, in kinaya, you have to make intention of talaq, because get lost, is not a talaq word. It's just simply driving her away. But if you intended to give her talaq by this word, then your intention can take effect and it will be called talaq ba'in. So if you give her a talaq ba'in, or let's say khula is done, then khula is like ba'in. It's finished now. Then you can't take her back. So in the talaq ba'in, you cannot revoke that during the iddat period. But in talaq raj'i, you can take her back. Meaning you gave her one talaq, then after a week or a month or after 2 months, before the 3 cycles and haze finished, you felt like taking her back. She also, regretted it, and she promised that, okay, I want to come back to you, we'll behave ourselves, and I won't annoy you. And he also said, I'm sorry, and they apologize and they make amends. Then okay, they don't have to do anything. He just have to say, I take you back, raja'tuki. Or he hugs her, kisses her, they sleep, they have sexual intercourse. Then that is ruju, and the marriage will be intact. But this one talaq is counted. It will be written on the paper. If after a few months or years they have another argument and he gives another talaq, this will also be talaq raj'i, but it will add up with that one which you gave 5 years ago. So now it's 2. If he takes her back in that period, he's allowed to do so. However, after another 5-10 years, he gives another talaq, then the previous 1 plus 1 was 2. Now this 1 will become 3, and then they can't stick together. Finish. It's called talaq mughallaza, and he will have to go his way, she will have to go her way. There is no question or no possibility of them sticking together after 3 talaqs. So Allah is saying, if you give 1 talaq raj'i, then وَبُعُولَتُهُنَّ أَحَقُّ بِرَدِّهِنَّ فِي ذَلِكَ. The husband has more right to take her back during these 3 periods and 3 menstruations, provided in aradu islaha, provided their intention is reconciliation. Meaning the desire is not to annoy and pester her. There is real, desire for sticking together. In all honesty, they want to stay together. Then it's okay. He can take her back. She can go back to him. But if the desire is just pestering her, like we will read in At-Talaqu Marratan, that what was the behavior of the people of Jahiliyyah. They would just keep divorcing and taking back, divorcing and taking back, divorcing and taking back. They would do it hundreds of times. Now, bichari, that woman was not in nikah and not divorced. She's just suspended in between the two. She has no right of her own. This is why Allah said, you can only do that twice. At the 3rd time, think carefully, then she's gone forever. You can never get together at all, even after nikah as well. And halalu walalu, Islam doesn't encourage halalu walalu, right? It's other people's, some people do that halalu, but Islam doesn't. Islam, in fact, discourages halala. Islam is trying to say, as we will explain, that if he's given you 3 divorces, then that means he's a stupid fool. He doesn't deserve you. You shouldn't stay with him. You should leave him, go find another husband, try and settle down with someone else. You will find someone better than him. Women are normally very soft and gentle, and they give in very quickly. So he cries some crocodile tears in front of her, and she said, all right, okay, I'll stay back with you, and finish. And then he bosses her around again and hits her and beats her up and behaving in the same manner. So Allah Ta'ala is saying, if he's divorced you 3 times, then finish it off. Go find someone else. And this does happen. That, when she went and married someone else, and then, she started liking him and living with him and stayed with him for the rest of her life. This is what Islam wants. In Canada, I mentioned this masala and explained it. Someone asked me this question, because Maulana Mahmudul Hasan Sahib is here, so I'm mentioning it. Someone asked me this question. Maulana Sahib, this lady asked me to ask you that, my husband divorced me 3 times. Now, why should I be punished? Why should I go and get married to someone else and then I come back to him? He gave me divorce, he should be punished. So I said, this is not punishment. This is to provide a solution for you. And then I explained, this is what Shariat is trying to do. Go and find someone who's better, nice. You might get on with him. And I said, these things happen. In some Sarhad Pathan Ilaka, there was this Chaudhry Sahib. Chaudhry Sahib gave talaq to his wife 3 times. And then he regretted it. He wanted to take her back. So people said, you have to do halalu. So what is halalu? Where someone has to get married to her, sleep with her, and then divorce her, and then she will go through that 3 months, and then nearly after 6-7 months, you can take her back because your talaq 3 iddat, and then his nikah, and then 3 iddat, 3 hays, and then she will come back to you after 6 months. He said, okay, no problem, I'm prepared to wait. So who's going to do halalu? Nobody's ready. But Chaudhry Saab's wife, who can do halalu with her? So someone said, Masjid ki Imam Saab ko pakdo. अब इमाम साहब को बुलाया चौधरी साहब ने, इमाम साहब यू हैव टू डू हलालू. नहीं भाई मेरा काम नहीं है, मैं किसी और को बदनामी होगी, आई डोंट वांट टू डू दैट. नो नो यू हैव टू टेक, आई एम चौधरी साहब, आई एम टेलिंग यू. इमाम साहब सेड ऑलराइट. इमाम साहब निकाह भी दो. नाउ then Chaudhry Sahab said to Imam Sahab, now you divorce her. Imam Sahab said, you have to ask her. If she wants divorce, then I'll divorce her. If she doesn't, then why should I divorce her? So now Imam Sahab was already married. She was his second wife. Now when they asked her that you want divorce, you want to get back to Chaudhry Sahab? And she said, no, I like Imam Sahab. I want to stay with Imam Sahab. I don't want to go back to Chaudhry Sahab. And they said, but you, Chaudhry Sahab is so rich and this. He said, no, Imam Sahab is a so good akhlaq and manners and characters, behavior. I want to spend the rest of my life with Imam Sahab. I don't want to go back to the Chaudhry. And she stayed with Imam Sahab as his second wife because she liked him. So this is what Sharif is trying to tell you. That, lady, go find yourself someone who is more suitable for you, who can give you respect, who can treat you nicely. This is the aim behind this hukam, that after 3 divorces, he cannot take you back. You have your own choice. You go and find someone else. Try and settle down with someone else. This I will be mentioning this when the ayat فَإِن طَلَّقْهَا فَلَا تَحِلُّ لَهُ مِن بَعْدُ comes. At the moment, Allah is saying that if he had given 1 divorce, then he deserves to take her back more if he wants to reconcile. He doesn't even have to take her permission. He can just say, I've taken you back and we will be living together. And it's okay. She will live with him. But if he had given 2 talaqs or talaq-e ba'in, and then after talaq-e ba'in he wants to get together, then no. Even if it's in iddat, he can say that no, nikah padna padega. And for nikah, proper nikah, meher, witness, everything like normal nikah. The normal nikah will be done. If it's 1 talaq-e ba'in or 2 talaq-e ba'in. But if it's 3 talaq-e mughallaza, then there is no question. He can't take her back in the period. He can't take her back after nikah jadid. She has to marry someone else first, and then maybe she can come back to the first husband. This is وَبُعُولَتُهُنَّ حَقُّ بِرَدِّهِنَّ فِي ذَلِكَ إِنْ أَرَادُوا إِصْلَاحًا وَلَهُنَّ مِثْلُ الَّذِي عَلَيْهِنَّ بِالْمَعْرُوفِ. And for them is what similar to what is upon them in reasonable manner. Women, and to the women is due similar to what is due from them honorably in a ma'roof and reasonable manner. Meaning, women have their rights, and just as they have their responsibilities, same case for men. Men and women, they both have rights and responsibilities. Over here, if we see the society we live in, before Islam, women were given no rights whatsoever. Islam gave them equal rights. And the other religions have changed over the centuries. Islam's stance has not changed. Islam gave her the rights from day one, and still the same rights are given to her. To explain this, let me again read passage from Maulana Abdul Majid Daryabadi, rahmatullahi alayhi, Tafseer Majidi. He writes, in plainer language, women have rights quite similar to those of men. This bold and explicit declaration of the rights of women centuries and centuries before a mill dreamt of writing on the subjection of women has no parallel in the pages of other divine scriptures. Contrast with this the attitude of the Bible, which as a punishment of the sin of Eve makes wife a subject to her husband who is to rule over her, According to the Old Testament, woman is responsible for the fall of man, and this became the cornerstone of Christian teachings. It is a remarkable fact that the gospel, barring divorce, MT chapter 19, verse 9, contain not a word in favor of women. The epistles of St. Paul definitely insist that no change can be permitted in the position of woman. St. Jerome has aught but good to say of women. He writes, woman is the gate of the devil, the road of evil, the sting of scorpion. Canon law declares man only is created to the image of God, not woman. Therefore, woman shall serve him and be his handmaid. The Provincial Council of Macon, 6th century, seriously discussed the question whether woman had a soul at all. Kraft Ebing, Psychopathia Sexualis, page 4, and whatever. The effect of the teachings of the Jewish rabbis and Christian fathers was that in the course of history, woman was represented as the door of hell, as the mother of all human ills. She should be ashamed at the very thought that she is a woman. Lecky, History of European Morals, page 357, 358. Islam grants full dignity to woman as a human being. Each sex is meant to complement the other. Woman is not subhuman. The true relation between the sexes is of interdependence. Then other rights after, in the explanation of the verse, they should be treated respectfully and honorably. He writes, this implies, by the way, the principle of modern veracism, which demands on behalf of the maiden entering upon marriage that her husband be as chaste and sexually as unspotted as herself, and denies the largely prevailing bisexual ethical standard in the West, allowing one set of sexual honor for the male, another for the female. Islam is saying she has rights as there are rights upon her in reasonable and honorable manner. Over here we go into the ahadith. Ibn Kathir rahmatullahi alayhi narrates that in Hajjatul Wada, Nabi Kareem sallallahu alayhi wasallam said, ittaqullaha fin nisa, fear Allah regarding your women. فَإِنَّكُمْ أَخَذْتُمُوهُنَّ بِأَمَانَةِ اللَّهِ, you took them by the amanat, as an amanat given to you by Allah. وَاسْتَحْلَلْتُمْ فُرُوجَهُنَّ بِكَلِمَةِ اللَّهِ, you made halal their private parts by one word of given to you by Allah. Qabul ki, after qabul ki, she became halal for you. So be careful, Allah made them halal for you. وَلَكُمْ عَلَيْهِنَّ أَنْ لَا يُطِعْنَ فُرُوشَكُمْ من تكرهونه فإن فعلن ذلك فاضربوهن ضربا غير مبرح ولهن عليكم رزقهن وكسوتهن بالمعروف إلى آخر الحديث. In the hadith of Muawiyah ibn Hayda, ما حق زوجة أحدنا عليه أن تطعمها إذا طعمت وتكسوها إذا اكتسيت ولا تضرب الوجه ولا تقبح ولا تهجر إلا في البيت. What is the right of my wife over me? That you feed her when you eat, and you clothe her properly when you buy clothes for yourself, and you never strike her on the face, and you never curse her and say words which are ugly and which hurt her feelings, and you do not leave her bedding except within the room, within the house. You don't kick her out of the house. You have to keep her. She is your wife. You know, in other hadith, Nabi Pak sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, لا يجلدن أحدكم امرأته جلد العبد ثم هو يضاجعها في آخر يومه. Don't beat her like you will beat your slave and then go to sleep with her at night. When you're going to sleep with her at night, then why beat her up during the day? This is one extreme to the other extreme. One is showing great force and the other is showing great love. So he said, be moderate in your approach. Ibn Abbas radiallahu anhu said, Inni uhibbu an atazayyana lil mar'ati kama uhibbu an tatazayyana liyal mar'a. I would like to beautify myself for my wife as I would like her to beautify herself for me. So this is وَلَهُنَّ مِثْلُ الَّذِي عَلَيْهِنَّ بِالْمَعْرُوفِ. It can be explained in other ways as well by Mufassirin. We'll go over it later, inshallah. وَلِلْرِجَالِ عَلَيْهِنَّ دَرَجَةً. Men have a degree of virtue over them. In another place, Allah said, الرِّجَالُ قَوَّامُونَ عَلَى النِّسَاءِ. Men are the maintainers. They are the captains of the family. Just as in football team, you have a captain who makes the decisions. The men are the captain of the family. This is وَلِلْرِجَالِ عَلَيْهِنَّ دَرَجَةً وَاللَّهُ عَزِيزٌ حَكِيمٌ. Allah is Aziz and Hakim. Allah is powerful and He is wise. He has given you a little bit of power. That does not mean you abuse that power and you degrade her, because Allah has more power over you. Allah is wise. You should also be wise. Deal with hikmat in all matters. Anything happens, treat them with hikmat and wisdom. Don't abuse your power and don't overpower them. This is how this ayat comes to a close. There are some other points over here. We'll go over them inshallah in the next lesson. अजान का टाइम हो रहा है. अल्लाह पाक हमें कुरान पाक पढ़ने, समझने, अमल करने की तौफीक नसीब फरमाए. वाखिर दावाना अल्हम्दुलिल्लाहि रब्बिल आलमीन व सल्लल्लाहु वसल्लम अला सय्यिदिना मुहम्मद व आलिहि वसहबिहि अजमईन बिरहमतिका या अरहमर राहिमीन. तर्जुमा कर लेते हैं फिर से एक मर्तबा अजान से पहले. And the divorced women shall keep themselves in waiting for 3 courses. It is not allowed for them that they should conceal what Allah has created in their wombs if they believe in Allah and the last day. And their husbands are more entitled to take them back during the period menstruation if they desire reconciliation and rectification. And to women is due similar to what is due from women in an honorable and respectable manner. And for men there is a degree above them, and Allah is mighty and wise. Inshallah, we'll go over the remaining in